Welcome to another Travel for Change interview session. I am Jill Valentine, transformational travel coach and founder of You Go Impact. And here today I have the lovely Deborah Brooks Lamb, who joined us for two of our You Go experiences. Back in 2023, she joined us for our Elevate Ecuador experience, and most recently joined us for our Meaning Magic Machu Picchu experience. In Deb's cases, she actually came as part of a private group of moms that You Go connected with a number of years ago, and I was fortunate enough to get to organize and lead these experiences for them. And so welcome, Deb. So happy that you are here today. Let's just dive right in. Why don't you share a little bit of how these You Go experiences unfolded for you?
Sure. So I'm part of a mums group and we've been together for over 20 years, most of us. A few have come and gone, but the core group. So we have children of similar age, but our group is really about the mums and about our experiences and helping each other through life's challenges and having fun. And years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, we had talked about as a group helping the community more because we were beyond the baby stage and felt we had something in us to give. And shortly after that, I was introduced to you and you came and talked to our group. And at that point, I think we weren't quite ready to do a service trip to another country, to another continent. So it kind of stayed on the back burner. And then eventually we bumped into each other at a networking event. And I said, Jill, let's make this happen. It's now or never. So that's how Ecuador happened. It was a fantastic experience. We all had a great time. And as soon as we were back, all of us said, let's do it again. So 2 years later, we packed our stuff and we went off to Peru. And we're actually already talking about our next one in a couple of years. So we'll see what happens.
I love it. So for those of you who don't know, You Go Impact Experience is a coaching program plus a volunteer abroad experience in a community somewhere that's in need. We've got some great charity partners around the world. And like Deb mentioned, we went to Ecuador. We were in a small town called Canoa. And then most recently, we were down in Ollantaytambo, helping a women's weaving collective. Deb, share a little bit more about the two experiences and maybe what your favorite moments of each of those experiences were.
Sure. I think the best part of both of them is the community impact we had. In Ecuador, we helped build a house for a caretaker of a school. So that was impacting the kids, the teachers, the community, and so forth. In Peru, as you said, we were working with a women's weaving collective, and we were actually building a fence, and we helped prepare building materials and a kitchen. I actually feel that the Peru experience was more impactful. It was wonderful to be part of their community where they really have a belief in reciprocity. And we did learn about that when we were there from our translator. We had a translator with us every day because although some of us know a bit of Spanish, they actually spoke the native Quechua. So the translator explained that essentially it's today for you, tomorrow for me. And it's not that they volunteer because they know they're going to receive back. It's just that's built into their community. So on the job site, there was only one person there who was paid, and he was, if you will, the most skilled contractor. And so he was the one doing sort of the fine work in the kitchen and directing what needed to be done. But everybody else on the job site was volunteering. And it was from us, the ladies who do the weaving, they were doing all the cooking and such to feed us. And then there were older gentlemen who, I'll say they were retired from their farming or tourism careers. And they were doing some of the heavy work, like lifting 400-pound boulders. It was crazy what they were doing with primitive tools. So we really felt part of the community. We really felt that they opened their arms to us. And it really was an impactful experience to be part of that group that essentially is untouched since the 12th century. It's crazy how primitive they still are, but in a lovely, lovely way.
Yeah, I love it. What would you say surprised you the most about the Peru experience? And that could be about Peru itself, about the people, about yourself.
Well, thinking about the actual volunteer work, I didn't realize that the women wore their traditional outfits all the time. I mean, it's not like a ceremonial thing. They still dress the same way they did in handmade clothing as they did back in the Inca time. They make their skirts, they make their tops, they wear these little hats, and that's just the way they live. And I didn't know that going in. Of course, I had seen pictures and thought, oh, that's kind of ceremonial, but it's not. It's their everyday clothing, and they are weavers and spinners, and it's wonderful. The husbands are usually farmers, or some of them are now in the tourist industry. But again, still very traditional the way they operate day to day. So that was
Yeah.
probably the biggest surprise for me, that it still seems somewhat untouched by the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so special. It's not like this is just how they are, and we get to go and be with them, and it's not that they're putting on some sort of performative
Yeah.
show for us. It's them just showing up. This is what they wear every day. This is what they do every day, the weaving, the spinning, like you said. And yeah, I thought that was incredible that they are still wearing the same clothing and haven't modernized
Yeah.
with, Western clothes and everything. I do think the men have more because they were in the tourist industry. So they're wearing like the North Face fleece and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's interesting to see that difference between the men and the women,
The
with the men
women are
not wearing the
still
traditional. Yeah.
very traditional.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
much. Although I do think that's going to be changing in the next little while, because they are starting to send their kids to university.
Right.
So I think there'll be more Western influence, if you will, coming in, for better or for worse. Who knows?
Exactly, exactly. So, like we said, obviously our programs include volunteering in the community, cultural, visiting Machu Picchu, the coaching. So, tell me a little bit about sort of your, personal journey. Did this program, or what sort of impact this program had on you from a personal sort of standpoint?
I've had a rough couple years medical wise. So, as you know, I was just coming off of knee surgery. And for me, like outside of the volunteering, the physical side of it, where we did the day hike to Machu Picchu, and then the next day we did the even harder hike up Huayna Picchu. So that physical part of it for me was really important, because it was a personal challenge that I had worked towards in my recovery from surgery. So that was super important, and it was more than just conquering a mountain. It was actually convincing myself I could do this. I can do this physical stuff. I'm okay to use my knees again. So that was really rewarding. I'm not sure if that answered your question, Jill.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, for sure, that was, a part of your personal journey, like you said. In terms of, the program, would
Yeah,
you say, what element would you say had sort of the most impact on you? I mean, there was obviously it's a
so much.
so much, but yeah.
Well, part of the program is the coaching. And I know pre Ecuador, some people in our group were hesitant about the coaching. And then, of course, we're all loving it now. And it was a massive part of the Peru program. Not so much time commitment, just the impact that it had. I think I came to some realizations personally about what I want to do with the rest of my life, about friends, about family, what's important to me, and just the impact that I could have on the world in a micro scale. Because you do realize when you travel that you're just one little part of a big, big world, and there's a lot out there. So it was really impactful. And I always think it's good to look a little deeper inward and think about what you've accomplished, what's left to accomplish, and a massive sense of appreciation and gratefulness came out of it for me.
As it does usually when
Yeah.
we, travel to these sorts of places and see how other people live, and especially when we then compare it to our lives. So I love that. And yeah, the coaching for me is, some people can be a little hesitant around it, resistant. I think it's a really powerful piece to help us unpack, one, what we're experiencing, but also just to deepen our self awareness and knowledge of who we are. So I love when people come around to it and eventually, celebrate it and love it. So I do love how much your group enjoyed the coaching and everything like that. Obviously, these weeks are fun and all good, but I do know that, like you said, there is usually a sort of a more challenging part, whether that's the physical labor of churning cement, five
Yeah.
mountains of cement in a day, or the hiking or whatever. Was there a moment that you felt sort of very challenged? And how did you sort of get through that?
Yes, for sure, making cement, which happened in Ecuador and Peru. I think it's a common theme on these work sites. Yeah, it's physically challenging, right? The sun's beating down and all you have is a shovel and a stream where you're getting water. But what was good about the group and you, Jill, is you just said, like, if you need a break, you take a break. If you need help, you ask for help. And so it really was a teamwork thing. And there were a couple times where I said, okay, I can't do any more cement. I'm going to work on the bamboo, right? Because we were working with pretty traditional building materials and adobe bricks and so forth. So there's always a variety of things to do. And that was wonderful. So that was the physical side.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always say that it's always kind of participation by choice. I never want to be like,
Right.
like you said, hot sun, all of that kind of stuff. And I agree. And it was beautiful, on all of our programs, whether it's a group of strangers coming together or a group of friends, the teamwork just happens so incredibly on the work site.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of how everyone bonds either initially or even deeper as a community if that those relationships already exist. So if you could say there was sort of one part of a Yugo experience that's your favorite piece, what would you say that would be?
I think the deeper friendships that were formed with the group that came. We have a lasting bond now. We've experienced so much together. It was fun. It was rewarding. It was impactful. And I'm so grateful for that experience.
If you could use a word to describe, your either Peru or Ecuador experience, what would that be?
Impactful.
And one final question. If somebody was sitting on the fence as to whether to join either a Yugo experience or to just head out and do sort of a big life adventure or travel abroad, what would you tell them?
I would say definitely go with the Yugo experience if you want to feel that you're giving back, but you will also come back refreshed and re energized. Absolutely go for it. And if you're going to head out on your own, I would put Peru on your bucket list. I've traveled quite a bit in my life, and Peru is one of my favorite countries now. There is so much there. It's wonderful.
It is absolutely, it's such just a different and unique place, and
Yeah.
everything from the Sacred Valley, Machu Picchu, Cusco, like
Yeah. There's a
there's
lot.
so many flavors and elements and everything from the ancient, wisdom pieces to, the just, and the people are so lovely. So I absolutely echo that. And I appreciate you taking the time today. It has been so incredible to take the Dragonflyer group on both,
Yes.
Ecuador and Peru. And I am very excited for whatever lies ahead, possibly in 2027. So thank you
Right.
so much for sharing
Thank you.
your experience today. And yeah, I can't wait to see what unfolds next.
Awesome. Thanks, Jill.
Cheers.